Hello, Roland Warren here. Welcome to part 2 of our Pro-Life Mythbusters series. Today I'm going to tackle just one myth, but it's a big one. It's one of the most common criticisms the pro-life movement hears, and it's one of the most common negative comments that we hear on our Facebook page. It's the myth that pro-life people only care about babies when they're in the womb, but we don't care about them when they're born. Some of our critics put it this way: pro-lifers are just pro-fetus. They don't even care about children at all. We are just obsessed with fetuses. There are several things that make this myth stand out as the king of all myths about the pro-life movement. For starters, I found this criticism as a thinly veiled way of saying that if pro-life people really care about babies, they would be in favor of all government programs that are designed to support mothers, fathers, and their children. However, these critics are confusing caring about babies with support of federal government programs as the best, optimal, most efficient, and most compassionate way to care for those in need. This is an unfortunate mindset that has infiltrated our culture. We no longer have faith in the power of communities to care for those less fortunate and those in need through forces like private charities and churches. Instead, we've become dependent on federal government programs to deal with community issues. Furthermore, since we are all subject to the same tax laws, regardless of our stance on abortion or our faith in what the taxes fund, all people, pro-life and pro-choice, support such programs to the same degree. So unless the pro-choice people are sending extra checks to the IRS, they are doing nothing more to support these programs than anyone else. Moreover, study after study confirms that church-going people donate significantly more of their time and money to private charities than anyone else in the country. For example, a 2013 study by a nonprofit group called Connected to Give found that about 75% of people who frequently attended religious services gave to their house of worship, and 60% gave to religious charities or non-religious ones. By comparison, fewer than half of people who said they didn't attend religious services regularly supported any charity, even a secular one. So a core pro-life demographic, those attending religious services, is not only paying their taxes like everyone else, they are giving more to charities than anyone else. Another problem with this myth is that it lets pro-choice people off the hook when it comes to their responsibility to babies when the woman is at risk or faces obstacles and she chooses to bring a child into the world. Let me explain. One of the ways this myth manifests itself is when pro-choice people say to pro-life people, since you're pro-life, you have a special responsibility to care for unwanted babies and children. But there's another problem. You see, if someone is truly pro-choice, that means that they support two choices, abortion and birth. They don't care which one the woman chooses as long as she has the right to choose. So this means that if a woman chooses to keep her baby, even if they don't agree with her choice, they have to support her choice, even if that means caring for babies that a woman wants to give birth to, but not raise. Therefore, they would have just as much responsibility for her baby as pro-life people do, which of course includes adopting unwanted babies. But wait, there's more. You see, pro-choice folks work tirelessly to remove any and all obstacles to give a woman access to abortion. But if they're pro-choice rather than pro-abortion, they should also use their political, financial, and social power to remove any and all obstacles from a woman who wants to have a baby, but is facing challenging circumstances. Heck, Planned Parenthood should have at least one pregnancy center for every abortion clinic, but they don't. Indeed, supporting these women is the unique work of pregnancy centers, isn't it? You see, we are living out our pro-life, that is, pro-abundant life worldview, while they are not living out their pro-choice worldview, because they really only support women in one choice, access to abortion. So the next time a pro-choice person asks you how many children you've adopted, you should ask them how many children they have adopted too, and explain to them that their pro-choice conviction makes them equally responsible for every life that comes into the world, even if it's unplanned. And once again, when you look at the data, it's practicing Christians who are most likely to adopt children and take children into their homes through foster care. For example, A Barna Group survey from 2013 concluded that practicing Christians are more than twice as likely to adopt than the general population, and practicing Christians are 50% more likely to be foster parents. Again, a core pro-life demographic is doing exactly what the pro-choice people say they should be doing, while those same pro-choice people aren't actually doing it nearly as much. The final point I will make about the myth that pro-life people don't care about babies after they're born is that pro-life organizations, such as pregnancy centers, provide an enormous amount of support to babies. As the stats and studies indicated in my last live chat, pregnancy centers provide services for poor, minority, and at-risk babies before and after their birth. CareNet's network of affiliated pregnancy centers, which accounts for about half of the 2,500 centers nationwide, provided $56 million in free services in 2014 alone. If these pro-life centers only care about babies in the womb, why would they provide marriage and relationship support, parenting classes, diapers, financial assistance, and other aid to children and their parents? So as you can see, there are several reasons that this myth must be busted. In fact, the very reason pro-life people are pro-life people is because of our deep conviction that every human life begins at conception and is worthy of protection. And we are consistent in this belief. We believe it is true for adults, it is true for children, it is true for the disabled and the poor, it is true for babies, and it is true for the unborn children in their mother's womb. Amen? Until next time, may God bless you daily as you serve Him faithfully.